All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most exciting, and honestly, most terrifying gambles in the world of business, launching a brand new product, especially in a place like India, where the market is growing so fast. The potential upside is just massive. But, as we're about to see, the risks, they're even bigger. So picture this. You've got this incredible market, just buzzing with opportunity. It really feels like the perfect playground for innovation, right? The ideal place to introduce something totally new and just watch it take off. But well, there's a catch. And yeah, that really is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? With all this potential, you'd think it would be easier. But the reality is, the marketplace is a graveyard of brilliant ideas that just never quite made it. So what's going wrong here? Okay, let's put a number on this, and it's not a pretty one. Research shows that the actual success rate for new product launches in a market like India today is probably less than 30%. Just think about that for a second. For every 10 new products that hit the shelves, 7 of them, well, they're probably doomed from the start. I mean, just look at that difference. You are statistically way more likely to fail than you are to succeed. So the message is crystal clear. If you go into this without a disciplined professional plan, you're not just taking a risk, you're basically playing a game that's rigged against you. So you have to wonder, how do so many smart companies with so many smart people end up on the wrong side of those odds? Well, it usually comes down to a few, let's call them common traps. These are the major mistakes that can sink even the most promising ideas. And the first and biggest trap is just guessing. It's this belief that having a good idea is enough, without actually grounding that idea in what people really need or want. So many companies just operate in their own little bubble, you know? They don't get out there and collect the actual data. And look, the data totally backs this up. A staggering 67% of companies admit they seldom use professional market research. That means 2/3 of them are essentially flying blind. They're making these huge, high-stakes decisions with almost no real, structured information. It's no wonder the failure rate is so high. Okay, another major issue is where the ideas are even coming from in the first place. In a lot of companies, new product concepts aren't born from customer needs. They're born in the boardroom. It's the CEO's pet project, or they're just trying to copy what a competitor is doing. There's just no system in place to actually listen to consumers. And then there's this one. Even when companies do have an idea they like, they often skip the most crucial step of all, the reality check. They don't test it. Research shows that 44% of firms don't do any formal concept testing. They'll pour huge amounts of time and money into developing something without asking that one simple, vital question, will anyone actually want to buy this? All right, so we've spent some time diagnosing the problem. Now, what's the solution? The only way to really beat the odds is to stop gambling and start strategizing. It's about replacing all that guesswork and those gut feelings with a systematic, professional process. A successful product journey actually has a roadmap. It looks something like this. You start with a structured way to generate ideas. Then you develop that idea into a solid concept. And then, and this is key, you rigorously evaluate it. You test it. Only then do you move on to launching it. And finally, reviewing the whole thing to learn from the process. This, right here, this is the antidote to chaos. Now, having a process is absolutely crucial, but you also need a strategy. I mean, where are your new ideas even going to come from? It turns out there are really 4 main paths a company can take to innovate and grow. And that strategy usually falls into one of these 4 boxes. You've got product improvement, that's just making your current stuff better for your current customers, simple enough. Then there's line extension, making more products for those same people. Or you could try a market extension, taking what you already have to a totally new audience. And then there's the big one, diversification, new tech for a new market. That's the riskiest of all. Knowing which game you're playing is key. But there's another layer to all of this, one that often gets missed. It's not just about having the right process or the right strategy. It's about designing the right thing. And this requires a really delicate balancing act between 2 very different points of view. So here's the core challenge. Your customer, they think in abstract terms. They want something that's fast or user-friendly or that just looks sleek. But your designers, they think in concrete specs, engine size, UI logic, physical dimensions. The real magic happens when you can successfully translate those fuzzy customer desires into tangible product features. This quote from the research just says it all, really. A delicate balance has to be struck.
Because if you let designers just work in a vacuum, you might get a technological masterpiece that absolutely nobody wants to use. Success is found right there in the middle, balancing what's possible with what's actually useful.
So, after going through all the pitfalls and the blueprints, how do you actually put it all together? How do you win this high-stakes game and actually beat the odds? Well, here's your winning edge. First, ditch the guesswork. Use a system. Second, leverage the brands you already have. Remember that line extensions have a 71% success rate. That's a huge advantage. Third, listen to your customers to find their needs, but empower your designers to create the solution. Make product design a core part of your strategy, not an afterthought. And most importantly, treat innovation like the rigorous discipline it is, not like a lottery ticket. And really, that's what it all comes down to. A brilliant idea is just the starting point. True success, the kind that actually beats the odds, comes from having a brilliant process. So the question I want to leave you with is this. You know your idea is great, but is your process good enough to make it a reality?